Chapter 28. Geeta was aware that love comes with conditions, no matter that people say otherwise. Marriage, too, comes with conditions, no matter what your parents tell you. And an extramarital affair? That one has consequences. Geeta sat and wondered about the conditions she had expected from her husband. Love? Yes. Not in the beginning, but eventually maybe. A little support. A bond that would go beyond parenting, but just as a couple. An emotional attachment. A desire for her as a person. Respect. Appreciation. Acknowledgement in his circle of friends. A little romance even. It was the basic conditions that Geeta thought her husband should give. She replayed the conversation she had with Shailesh. She hadn't decided whether to be honest with him or not about her act of infidelity. She just wanted to understand what his conditions were from her in this marriage. "Shailesh, do you love me?" she had asked one morning, as he was wearing his tie in front of the mirror in their bedroom. He looked at her strangely. "After so many years, why do you ask?" "I need to know. Do you love me?" She just wanted to hear him say, "Yes, I love you, Geeta." Then maybe she would give up everything else and go back to being his faithful wife. He sighed deeply. "I'm attached to you, Geeta." "You're attached to me," Geeta repeated. "What do you mean?" "Well, we've had an arranged marriage." He walked towards the door as his voice trailed off, and Geeta did not understand what he meant. He continued, "If I had a dog for 13 years, I would eventually get attached to the dog." He went his way. Geeta was stunned. She was being likened to a dog? Was she just a duty he needed to fulfill for his parents because they had pressurized him to get married? Was she just furniture in the house that he needed around for a comfortable life? A black cloud sat on her shoulders. She had a nagging feeling it wasn't over. She was aware that he had never been proud of her. She had asked him often enough to invite his office friends over so she could cook for them, and maybe, she hoped, he would like that. But he never did. All these years, he had refused to give her his office number, telling her to use his mobile if she needed to call him. She had begged for him to take her out to eat in a restaurant alone, just the two of them. But he would rather take the entire family, saying it was important to bond with them as well. He never thought it important for the two of them to take time out as a couple, to keep some amount of romance in their life, even if they began with an arranged marriage. She wanted to tell him that if he had conditions for her as a wife, she had her own conditions as well. Time alone with him every now and then, for instance. But husbands thought that housewives' lives were inextricably joined to them or their children. They had no life or dreams or opinions other than the family. So they never asked their wives what she was really thinking or how she was really feeling. But now, she heard it clearly. If given a choice, he would leave her in a heartbeat if he found someone else who was not just a dog to grow attached to eventually, but really love. He would leave her when his children grew up or his parents died. She didn't figure in the scheme of his life at all. He had never loved her. He never would. How she wished she had taken up a career earlier in her life. At least she would have had the courage to walk out. She knew she needed to start immediately. She wiped her tears and sent Sahil a message asking to see him. He was in the office, he said, but would go home if she needed him. "If it's not too inconvenient," she replied. He told her he would be home in an hour. Why Shailesh couldn't be more like his brother, she didn't know. Had they really come from the same womb? She had finished her chores by the time Sahil sent a message to say he was waiting for her downstairs. She gathered the children, on holiday from school that day, and dropped them off at Julie's next door. She walked to the lift, but got impatient that it took too long. She decided to take the stairs. "Natasha?" Geeta was a little too surprised, bumping into Natasha one flight down. "What are you doing?" "All the elliptical trainers are occupied in the gym, so I thought I would walk up and down the stairs instead," Natasha said, panting with the climb. "You?" "I was on my way to the market, actually. Needed to buy a few things and the lift was taking too long." Okay, see you, said Natasha. I need to burn these calories. They said their goodbyes. Geeta found Sahil sitting with his laptop. She sat down next to him, and, for the first time since that morning, an easy smile formed on her lips. What's up, Cookie? Feeling like eating mutton today? He said as he turned off his laptop. Geeta told him about her conversation with Shailesh that morning, how he had likened being with her to having a pet. I'm nothing in his life, Sahil. I know he's your brother, but why the hell did he marry me if he didn't want to? All these years I thought that there was something between us and that he was just busy, and that's why he always came home late. I thought that even if he wasn't attracted to me, love was there. But now I know that there has never been love. It was all his duty. She was disgusted with Shailesh. Sahil seemed as shocked as Geeta was. He didn't know how to console her. He didn't even think that she was still in love with his brother. Why couldn't she just leave Shailesh and be with him instead? He realized that he and Shailesh were like chalk and cheese. Sahil was a super confident child and didn't care that all the love of their parents was being showered on his brother. He had plenty of friends and freedom. He couldn't believe that his brother would behave so badly with the woman he loved. Before he could say anything, Geeta said, You have to help me set up my catering company. I need to do this right away. I want to earn for a change. I want to stand on my own 2 feet and never have to rely on Shailesh again. He nodded and turned on his laptop. Okay, let's write this down. Geeta's kitchen. Logistics. What do you want to cook? How many dabbas will you make in a day? How much will you spend on the raw materials? How much on advertising? Who do you want to reach out to? What ideas do you have for special occasions? She had all the answers. Her ideas flowed easily. He admired her more, seeing the excitement on her face as she spoke. He typed as fast as she spoke, and soon enough, they had covered several sheets of the Excel document discussing possibilities of what she could do. Wow, he said, looking at their efforts. You really are fired up. Have a look at what we've written while I make us some tea. It'll probably be the last time I'll be able to enter my kitchen, since you're taking it over for your company from tomorrow. Thanks for all your help, really. I appreciate it. She planted a soft kiss on his lips, effortlessly. Without any doubt, without any guilt. He kissed her back and went to the kitchen. She recognized what was between them and hoped she wasn't wrong. More than the passion, there was love. There was also appreciation and support. He came out with their tea. Are you sure you're okay with me taking over your kitchen for a few hours every day? Geeta asked. Oh, absolutely. I hardly use it in any case. I often confuse the oven for the washing machine and throw my clothes in there. Once I couldn't find my black shorts for a week and found them in the oven. They both laughed. I wish I had you around more often, Sahil said. Me too. They finished their tea and biscuits in the same happy spirit. Soon, Sahil said he needed to go back to his office. Are you hanging around here, darling? No, I'll go home. She went to keep the tray in the kitchen and Sahil followed. He wrapped his arms around her waist. I have another idea that we can use the kitchen for. Show me, Geeta whispered back, unabashedly. Her body responded easily to Sahil's signals. They kissed passionately. Their desire was fueled by the urgency of his departure. She removed his shirt while kissing him along the length of his neck. She felt a lurch of excitement within her. He tugged at her kurta and it tore. He was horrified, but Geeta assured him, It's okay. I'll cover it up with the dupatta. He liked her eagerness. She loosened the clip from her hair and let it lie around her. She wrapped her arms around his head and looked deep into his eyes. They locked themselves in an endless embrace, never wanting to let each other go. She whispered, But you have to go back to the office. I have 5 minutes. He removed her churidar and slid his hands along the roundness of her posterior. He parted her legs and massaged her inner thighs gently, using all his fingers to give her incredible pleasure. He then slowly removed her panties. He hoisted her up on the kitchen counter as she wrapped her arms around him. He quickly opened a kitchen drawer and found a condom to slip on. Slowly and gently he entered her, as she wrapped her legs around him to bring him closer. The window was open, and the thought of someone seeing them gave Geeta more pleasure. She grinded against him. As their movement became faster and harder, she closed her eyes as her world spun around her. When they finished, she cleaned up and checked her phone. There were a few calls and messages from Julie saying Anu was crying and wanted her mother. Geeta shouted out to Sahil, "I've got to run. Anu needs me." She left hurriedly. Without thinking, she took the stairs and there, again, bumped into Natasha, who was still doing her workout. This time, Geeta couldn't lie, because Natasha knew exactly how a woman looked post-coitus. Geeta was panting, her kurta was torn and crumpled, and her hair was out of place. Natasha guessed correctly that Geeta had just had sex. "Geeta!" Natasha stared hard at her. Right at the same time, another voice called out, "Geeta!" Sahil had run out with her dupatta. How could I have forgotten my dupatta? She cursed herself and took the dupatta from him. "Oh, thanks. Yeah, I forgot it while I was cooking," she said to Sahil and gave him a look to leave right away. She looked at Natasha. "My cylinder had finished, so I was cooking at my brother-in-law's place. Anyway, I've got to go. Anu needs me. Talk to you later?" Geeta didn't wait for Natasha to say anything. Stupid me! Geeta knew that Natasha knew. She hoped that Natasha would keep the incident to herself.